If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face. Forever, mate. Right, that was the Liverpool game. Here is the now, and I think we need a match report of sorts from the illustrious Chris B. Over to you.
It was absolutely pathetic. I'm going to start with the team selection, and let's go for Vicario. There are, when you look at that bloke, he's an absolute liability. We thought we had issues when Gomez was our first choice, but this bloke rivals in every minute. Yes, he can occasionally save a goal and is a good shot stopper, but apart from that, he causes more problems than he prevents. Then you look at the back four. So we had a Doggy and Spence at right backs, and then we are going to a team that are playing for the Championship. They've got a full stadium, everybody's on a high. So what do? We drop Romero and Van der Ven. Makes no sense at all when Van der Ven needs game time. As an established pairing, they both need to be playing together for continuity. Explain that one to me. Then the biggest mistake by a long way, we've been crying out all season for Archie Gray to be played in a defensive midfield position. So how is throwing a young lad into his first outing in that defensive midfield position away at Anfield against the champions elect, when you've got Ryan Gravenbach, you've got Alexis McAllister, and you've got other umpteen riches and talents in midfield? But to put them alongside James Maddison, I think they wrote a book in Australia called Walkabout. Well, James Maddison could have been the central character out of that book, because you're asking this young kid to play central midfield against a bloke who's, quite frankly, not offered anything for weeks. And then alongside him, you've got Bergvall. So you've got a 18 and 19-year-old going up against established central midfielders for a team who are up there and really fighting for it. And then we go to our front three. Wow, Solanke scored a goal, more by luck than judgment, I'd suggest. And then either side, it's the same old. Brennan Johnson doing what Brennan Johnson does, very little. Actually, take that back, nothing at all. And then on the other side, it was Mathis Tell, wasn't it? The sooner we buy him a one-way ticket back to Munich, the better. So the team wasn't helped by the team selection. And then we got schoolboy tactics from Ange. Everybody chasing around the pitch, no shape, no balance, no plan whatsoever. It is embarrassing, and it's an absolute pathetic indictment of the club that in the media spotlight, with Sky Sports and everybody else there, that they were prepared and thought that was acceptable. And then there were others throughout the game, ex-pros, ex-Tottenham men, all calling it for what it was. And I'll point you in kind to the text messages from Graham Roberts. Did you see the Graham Roberts tweets?
Go on.
I'm about to put them in our group chat. So Graham Roberts put this out, and it was subsequently deleted, I guess, at the request of the club. Halfway through the game, he tweets, "I'm watching the game. Who the heck is coaching our defenders? Mo Salah is left-footed and a doggy shows him inside to shoot on his left. Our coaches should do their homework. Pathetic." And a number of hours later, that was deleted. Why? Because the club reached out to him, said, "You're an ambassador, you're an ex-player, you want to continue receiving your financial package, match day hospitality alike, get rid." But there's somebody saying it for what it is. So it was absolute buffoonery, something we've seen from this guy time and time again. How he remains in a job, I do not know, but there was not a single positive to take from that game.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I would add to the very excellent analysis of the squad, the team, the starting 11. I would add the fact that was, to me, that really displayed the disconnect there is between Ange and the voices in his head, like, I'm brilliant, you don't understand, I know where I'm going, I have the master plan, and his relationship with the players. And then you get the net result of the disconnect between the first two things. So the idea that you would send in Gray and Bergvall together in something that was probably what we wanted a long time ago and would need to be practiced and finessed, and you just do that, as you say, in such a mercilessly tough game, totally ignoring the opposition, totally ignoring the occasion. The burden of expectation on Liverpool was colossal. And there were people moaning about the fact that Liverpool was celebrating, and Salah took the selfie after his goal and what have you. You can't get away from the fact that these guys were then going to play a couple of or 2 or 3 games away from home. It had to be done in front of their own fans, and people just looking for problems. If you don't take an umbrella out with you when it's a bit overcast overhead, don't moan to me that it rained and you got wet. But that's it. This is what Tottenham Hotspur fans are. They're wet hens.
Well, you name a game where it's been so easy that in-game your opposition can take selfies with phones from the crowd.
Well, it was called by somebody I saw refer to it as a testimonial.
They could have taken selfies whilst playing the game.
Yeah,
it was that. Yeah. I'm not the lack of resistance apart from the goal. Once, ironically, it was us scoring the goal that awakened the beast, because at that time it had been fairly cagey and I think they were a little bit nervous. But as soon as they realised, right, okay, we're going to have to kick it into gear now and get going, we were never in the game after that. And as you say, they did it at such a canter with such little resistance that they could have taken selfies. They could have actually filmed each other passing the ball. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah, I can see the PMGOL or whatever they call themselves, PGMOL, of course you would know, bringing in a sub clause that you're not actually allowed to have a mobile phone on the pitch in the future, because it's out of respect to your opponent. I had no problem with that. I had no problem with that mobile phone selfie. I thought fair play on you. If it was a Spurs, if that was happening the other way around with Spurs, we'd all be absolutely going, get in there and that sort of thing. So please don't have double standards.
No. Do you know what else pissed me off? What else really pissed me off was that the double standards of the man. Like, he hooked off Gray 45 minutes into the match at half time. How many piss poor performances have we seen on a weekly basis from Basuma, Bentancur, and Papa Matasar? But no, the three in midfield.
Sorry.
Sure. For the second half. It's like, this is a guy who said all the signings were his. Well, you signed this supposed world beater. I've yet to see that myself, but he's a young lad, so I'm not going to try and knock him too early. But then you've done everything you can to destroy the lad. You played him at centre-half umpteen times. You played him at right-back. You played him at left-back. The one time you play him in his correct position, you don't provide men to stand alongside him in the trenches and fight. You surround him with other embryos. But when it's getting a bit tough for him, you oik him off. What's that going to do for his confidence?
It's the thing is, Chris, right? And this is the thing. We've heard so many different excuses from the Anjin crowd, which is, we'd have played a lot better if we'd have had so many injuries. So we had too many players injured and couldn't play. We're now they're apparently, we need to bed them in a little bit more before we can start getting a good team, or we need to rest them for the semi-final. It's excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. They're completely disregarding the main fact which is we have no structure, we have no coherence, we have no form of team whatsoever that is actually able to play to a consistent level week in and week out. And people are now just so desperate to hang on to the Europa League as some form of justification that they're just not really seeing the big picture. So what about all the people who spend all their money going to the games? Does that suddenly? Sure, that doesn't matter if we play crap, for 90, lose 19 games in a season and counting. I think it's so disrespectful to the fans who pay their hard-earned money to go and see that bilge and then use a crap about resting players for the ropey.
What makes you honestly feel? Why do either of you honestly believe that if we get through against Bottleglint, they're going to turn up and fight for everything and give us a hard game? What makes you think that we're going to beat Bilbao or Man United in the final? We've just got nothing about us there. All those players have checked out. Nobody's playing as a team. Some of them look like they don't want to be there. And
who would want to be there? Did you see James Maddison after the game? His interview, which was this was frankly quite chilling. he made the point that they have to, and it blew up in his face. I mean, everything about these guys is broken. I mean, that's not an overstatement. That's not hyperbole. That everything is broken. And he said after the game, all the noise and negativity outside, we have to keep it outside. And we have to contain ourselves within the group and keep the mood right because we're focusing on Thursday, blah, blah, blah. So, and he said, not having a dig at the fans, understand that, they spend their money, blah, 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 and they're entitled to their opinion. And all the comments underneath, this was on a social media feed. It might have been on the Spurs feed or on Sky Sports or Hayters, I can't remember which, but all the comments, not one, there was a couple of nut job comments like, I can't wait for Angie's third season, which I've got a feeling is going to be held in a job centre somewhere. But everybody said, why are you calling out the fans? Because there isn't a way of mentioning fans in the context of what he was talking about without making it appear that he was having a dig at them. I mean, people are allowed to be annoyed. And at the prices, and this goes back to that boring thing again with bloody Daniel Levy, at the prices we're being charged, every single thing to do with this thing is a primo price. With the dearest ticket of anybody, within spitting distance. And it's quite frankly hateful. I mean, it's not even soul destroying or depressing. It's hateful because it is like you're being held hostage. Because if it was any other business, say, for example, like, I don't know, Mr. Bollerite, the guy, who was the jewellery guy who said,
Joe Ratner.
Ratner. This is like being a Ratner's customer. And you're making a crack about a sandwich from Marks and Spencer's being better value than your best-selling product, which was a pair of women's earrings that were $4.99 or something ridiculous. And the public turned around and said, "Oh, really? Oh, really?" And they dumped him. And the business collapsed because there was no emotional connect between the customer and the tills inside the Ratner stores. And this is how Levy, this is how Levy treats Tottenham fans. He's treating them identically to the way that Gerald Ratner did. And instead of coming out and saying, oh, you're better off spending your money on buying an ice cream, going for a walk in the park with your daughter or whatever, just doing something conventional, he's giving us dross players. You spend, and we keep on going back to it, but you go look at Solanke and you look at Richarlison, guys that fundamentally can't play bloody football well enough for anybody's reckoning. Nobody with an IQ in triple digits has any time for these chances. And all these finger clicking and all the nonsense that all these kids get behind, it's fundamentally without any substance. And whereas if you go and spend the money with in the park with your daughter and you go for a boat ride and buy an ice cream, at least you've got a memory. It was something that was nice. But you go to bloody Spurs and you just get humiliated.
May I offer evidence for the prosecution on that particular point as well?
We've already sent him down.
Yeah, exactly. But let's make it look like there was a semblance of a trial. James Maddison cost 40 million. Alexis McAllister cost 35 million.
Yeah.
Guilty as Chazbilad.
It's just tragic. It's just endlessly tragic, is what it is. It really is. So, were there any positives? Just to throw a curveball into the conversation, were there any positives that anybody got out of that? I mean, the only positive for me was that we lost again, because just to throw in, I made the comment about traffic being through the floor.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the guys on the Fighting Schmocks podcast said that their numbers were down.
I shared you a screenshot the other day where somebody had said he was speaking to somebody in the industry, and everybody's going through the floorboards. Yeah.
Well, there's a long story which I'll keep very, very brief. But there was a Google reset back in maybe September, October that caused chaos, and that hit a lot of sports websites in particular hard. So there was an immediate reaction then. But on top of that, you've had Tottenham set fire to themselves, throw themselves into a skip, and then be attacked by rats once the flames went out. And that has had a knock-on effect. So anybody telling you that they're even making a living at the moment is probably fibbing. So it's never been as bad. Never been as bad.
There's Go on, Chris. Go on. You. Go on.
No. Go.
There's two positives actually from the game, and one of them is a positive if you're of a specific nature in terms of the way whether you support Ange or not. Is that nobody got injured, so we're all okay for Thursday. So we got a full squad to choose from. Huzzahs! And the other positive was the brilliant expressions tweet.
Yeah,
that was just. I sat there with my missus last night, and we killed ourselves laughing at that. It was just so brilliant.
Was it just a sort of blast of?
I'll share it with you. You've got to see it delivered,
mate.
Yeah,
mate, we couldn't possibly do it justice, mate.
Yeah,
very good.
What was he said? He said something along the lines of, "Oh, when it came up to extra time, I didn't want time added on. I wanted time off for good behaviour."
I mean, listen. A lot of his stuff is massively scripted, if you like. It's well, but he does put on a good gig. In fairness to him, he does put on a good gig. No, it's just that. I mean, the comments. I've got some comments here. I'm going to hit you with from our YouTube channel from a short that I did after the game yesterday. What have we got here? Levy has a lot to answer for not sacking this lump. That's FMS and C. And what a disastrous season. Send the gaffer packing along with Vicario from Brian Allen Marcus. I mean, everybody's angry. Joshua F25, he's normalised losing. And a guy here digs 355 out of his depth, but it makes a good shield for Levy. And one for you, Chris, from Language Angels, Paddy Power's greatest gift. Yeah. It's just absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Nobody has anything nice to say. And a guy here, last one, I'll give you his Mofo Bazu, footballing knowledge of a goldfish crossing the Sahara, worst of all Daniel's follies. Absolutely.
He's had 28 years of experience. Mate, I've got 28 years of experience, mate.
Name me another coach who would survive. It's as if this bloke can lose every game and he's not at any danger of getting sacked.
The reality is I don't think that's particularly surprising or complex, because one thing we do know, we've learned over the years, is that Daniel Levy is a massive, gigantic coward. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like conflict, and he makes very cold business decisions, but frequently, well, all the time, the other people are not in front of him. They're not in the same room as him, because he has got the imposter syndrome, the small man thing, the Napoleon complex. But also, he is very happy to weigh things up and then make sure that when the trigger is pulled, he's already war-gamed the scenario out, and he's well aware of the amount of damage that can be done, and he thinks it doesn't apply to me. So he knows that thanks to those three clubs, it's impossible for Tottenham to be relegated. So he will let the whole thing swing in the breeze, like a guy that was hung a month ago. He'll let that swing in the breeze, rotting and stinking the place out. The Europa League, well, it's just more gate money at the worst case scenario. That's his strategy. That's his strategy. It's more gate money, and if we win it, there's the compensation for Ange.
And I've got to be honest, I couldn't care less about the Europa League or its final, to be perfectly truthful. We've been that piss poor this season. Lots of us are so disconnected from the club. We've got 11 players who I wouldn't be bothered to see the back of all of them. And we need a reset.
Absolutely.
With an ambitious young manager. And it's just papering over the cracks. If we were to win it, the only people it keeps happy is Levy, who must have been absolutely ecstatic on Saturday night with 67,000 people in his stadium watching the boxing, drinking beer as if it's going out of fashion. So the only people who benefit at that Champions League are the club, none of the fans. We're not going to see, if God forbid we manage to blag it and win that competition, we're not going to see an improvement in player coming through the door. We're not going to be ambitious like a Brighton have. We're not going to be super ambitious like an Aston Villa. You can't teach an old dog. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can't polish a turd, and that's what Tottenham are. We've just fallen so far behind that we no longer have a soul, a purpose, or an identity.
Well, I mean, all I would say there, I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, but I plea bargained and managed to talk the vet out of coming round and putting my dog down for another couple of weeks, which was one of the most difficult conversations I've ever had with another human being. But I did it because I felt it was the right thing to do. And equally, when I knew that then, even after the few weeks had gone, that it was equally the right thing to do to get the vet round, at least you have control over that situation. Whereas we're with somebody who is way overdue taking to the vets, way overdue. And as I said, I know it's a graphic image, but you've got this corpse swinging from a lamppost on piano wire in Ange. It's absolutely disgusting, fetid, and birds picking his eyeballs out and all the rest of it. He should have been cut down and put underground a long time ago. But this club is dragging us through the mire. Somebody just said, just very, very, very briefly, the Angelistas, the sex angels or whatever they've called themselves, there was one had the audacity to raise his head above the pulpit, and I noticed on the club social media feed, and somebody made a crack, as you did there, about the boxing, and said, oh, the tickets were like 300 and something quid, was the cheapest one that he could find. And one guy had the audacity to come out and say, yeah, but the club don't get the ticket price. That's the promoter's job. Whereas if you know anything about ticketing at all, it's all on a structured deal. So if you're charging £60 a ticket, the venue will charge you 35 or whatever it might be. And if you're charging £300 a ticket, then they will adjust their home take accordingly. So they made a ton of money out of these events, a ton of money. And it hasn't benefited the club, because we then, whatever they do eventually filter through to the club is wasted on absolute junk. And you take a player like Romero, for example, who I know everybody's fed up with now. I am. I'd be glad to see him gone. But you take a player like him, who, Argentinian World Cup winner, blah, blah, blah. Nobody gives a damn because of what's happened to him. But had he been coached properly, and had he been personnel managed effectively by his employer, which is Daniel Levy, the supposed legendary businessman, but he's not. He's just a crazy, despotic bean counter. Had he been managed properly, then he could have been a really decent, solid player for us. But we're talking about giving Ben Davies a bloody extension.
Well, I shared with you both a post yesterday afternoon, Romero, Polo, Richarlison, with Romero covering his mouth, laughing and joking right behind Ange at 3-1 should speak volumes, but it won't. So you've got some of your senior pros on the bench in front of national TV and media, seeing it as a hoot and a giggle. How about thinking about those poor people who travelled 4 hours from London to Liverpool, paying £80 a match ticket and incurring travel expenses, who went in the hope of supporting the club that they love and hoping something good might come from that performance?
Well, the only positive for anybody that bothered to travel to Anfield, and I don't care how far you travelled, whether it was 20 foot across the road to the club or 200 miles, is the fact that you didn't have to get accommodation there and you could go back the same day. But most football fans, I'm not suggesting they're unhinged maniac and party popper people, but most people, Liverpool has an attractive nightlife. And if you were going to travel all the way there, get yourself a modestly priced accommodation with a Premier Inn or something and go out for a few beers after the game. The cost of getting involved with Spurs is astronomical. And you really feel it when you don't get the quality product back. Like I say, he's the Gerald Ratner of football.
Well, just going back to that, making that point, this is a very, very raw piece of data. So, we can pick this apart. But I've literally just, whilst you were just having a quick chat there, I just asked ChatGPT about the comparative spending between Spurs and Liverpool.
Right.
And it says during Levy's tenure, that we have spent 1.72 billion on transfers. Liverpool during Fenway's tenure, which is between 2010 to 2025, is 1.52 billion. And what has that got them compared to us?
Well, I'll tell you what it does give them. And I will say this, irrespective of trophies, if you speak to a Liverpool fan, and I know plenty of them, and I lived in Liverpool, bear in mind, during the reign of those numbers you've just given us, they're generally speaking happy people. And they believe that everybody has their gripes, but they generally speaking feel that they are proud of who they are, proud of the team that they follow, and they feel as if they've backed the right horse. You don't speak to a Liverpool fan and get the same tones from them, which are invariably arrogant and misplaced, and blah, 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 as you get from Everton fans, to keep it really simple, because they're people living in the same city. So the idea that you would say, well, what have Liverpool really done? Even if you minus the trophies, but the trophies are part of the package, because people like to be associated with winning. I mean, if we win the Europa League, there was a bizarre article, even by the Athletic standards, which I have to say, I mean, it's 50p a month. So no wonder half the bloody planet are subscribed. It's almost something that they throw free into the bloody basket when you go to the supermarket. But they made a point there in the article this morning. I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it, Jay Smith or something. It wasn't one of the usual cretins. It was a fresh cretin. And said that lost all these bloody games, but, and it's coming. It's like a freight train coming down the track. You see the if we won the Europa League, it would go a long way to healing things. And I don't think anybody really understands, because they don't talk to real fans anymore. That hasn't happened for a way of a long time, apart from, angry white van man phoning up TalkSport in between the adverts, because that's what that entire setup is about. It's about the bloody adverts. But they don't talk to fans. But I think there would be a lot of people going, hurrah. And if I'll sit and watch it on the TV, if we win, I'll be delighted. But not really, not bloody really. We've absolutely had enough, sick to the back teeth. And this is a Mickey Mouse tournament. I know it's not hello. There we go. Nearly lost.
You're right. Just a little bit. Yep.
But it's a Mickey Mouse tournament in the scheme of things. But the idea that you would take that and that would somehow in the plus and the minus column balance out having lost 19 games.
Do you know how embarrassing it will be if we win that competition and end up playing Champions League football next season? We will be absolutely torn a new one. We'll be bent over the table and inner objects will be inserted in us, and there's nothing we can do about it. It'll give you or a Barcelona or a Real Madrid. They would absolutely wipe the floor with us. It'd be like watching a slow-moving car crash that you can't do anything about.
We would be interfered with in a manner that would make your average gangbang look like a nuns having sandwiches.
I think we're talking horrendous hypotheticals here, because if we honestly, if we take the assumption, and I think it's quite a decent assumption, that Athletic are probably going to be the strongest club left in the competition, just by the sheer fact they play better teams week in and week out, frankly.
And that's what the bookmakers say, by the way. It's not conjecture.
No. Whereas the Frankfurt one surprised me an awful lot. I don't see that Athletic are going to go down that road. They're not going to go down the we're not used to winning sort of thing, so we won't try. They will be at Man United. Let's face it, Man United are just as porous as we are, and I just don't see how they don't win that, and then we come up against them, and then we can, with our defence and with our lack of any form of coaching and tactics and what have you, that we're going to come up against a team like Athletic Bilbao and go, yeah, we're going to win that. We're going to win that trophy. I don't care about bloody hypotheticals. What have you done for me lately? We've won jack shit. We've won nothing. So please, let's not go down this road. It will do all this healing nonsense. First of all, it's not going to heal, because anybody in their right mind is not going to forgive. And by the time we get to the Europa, we'll have probably lost 20, 21, 22 games potentially.
Well, where's the next? Where is any next win coming from? Because
this is it.
Because don't mean you, but I mean don't anybody give me. Well, it was Liverpool. We know what it was. We play everybody twice. So get ready for that, by the way, because I will be getting angry with anybody who says, oh, yeah, we'll bloody see the draw from the supercomputer. We play everybody twiise. And then it comes down to the policing and it comes down to the commercials and all that side of things. So it's not rigged. But the idea that you're sitting, the people talking about this as if we're in the win with a chance of winning it. They're children playing EA bloody soccer ball 27 or something. They're totally detached from reality to the point of autism.
Well, here's some heavy reality for you. Apart from the teams that have been relegated, we have lost the most. We are the fourth. We are the club who have lost. How do you express it? All 3 teams that have been relegated are the only teams that have lost more than we have.
Yeah.
End of story.
Well,
That is all.
But don't forget, you're being very nasty. Don't forget, we have lost a lot of those games only by 1 goal. And what is 1 goal?
Am I saying hurty things?
Why can't you be happy? Why can't you be happy? You're never satisfied. We only lose by a single goal, and you're being all miserable and pointing.
Yeah, that was the stat, wasn't it? That was 15 of those games we've lost have been by a single goal. Guess what? We lost. Deal with it.
Do you know, honestly, the more, I just try to, I do this for a living, but I try to detach myself from this cretin, because every time his face appears in my head, I want to just bitch slap him. The guy is an absolute moron, absolute cretin. And he sits there rowing his bloody rat-infested chin, mumbling about, this, that, and the other. And he actually tried it. He tried it, and then he kind of drew back and changed the narrative, mate, on his post-match presser. And said, I thought we played quite well initially, and I thought, where's this going then? Because I didn't feel quite well about anything at any stage. He said, and then the crowd turned. I mean, I know you have to attack somebody because you like attacking supporters, but now you're having a pop at a side whose fans are happy that they're going to win the division by winning games. There's no witchcraft or betting going on here. This is just called doing your job properly. Unbelievable.
He had a pop last night about the toxicity around the club. He had a pop around the toxicity around the club and the negativity coming from the fans. Mate, if you hadn't served up such shit football all season, perhaps we'd be a bit more upbeat and a bit happier about things. You need to own this, but he won't.
No,
that's the level of delusion that we're operating under. This narcissism that nothing's his fault, that everything else is somebody else's fault. It's just it's narcissistic delusion. It really is.
Absolutely, and I said this months ago. We have all worked with that guy in the office or in the building or whatever, who says, "I'm fighting fires," right? And that is a go-to phrase of these narcissists. I'm fighting fires. And 99% of the chances I've had to reply to any of these guys is, but the problem is, mate, your bucket is full of petrol. You are causing as much damage as the problem itself. So you're wandering around saying, oh, my God, I don't know how Joe down in the warehouse there manages to keep his job. Mate, you hired him. You haven't fired him. And all of this stuff, and I know do you remember that cheesy thing? I can't remember if it was at like religious education at school, and they say when you point a finger at somebody, the other fingers are pointing back at you. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand it at all. He is so singularly responsible. I mean, he was mumbling about injuries again, as if this is something. It's like he found a fiver in the street. That's a random act. If you find money in the street, that's a random act. If you stand on a stone, it's because you weren't looking where you were going. He doesn't understand these basic principles of existing as a human being. He's as thick as margarine.
But we were told that when all the fit players, when all our players came back to fitness, we would be fine. We wouldn't lose games. What happened there?
Oh, and here's an absolute belter this morning. This was on Facebook this morning, and I really did laugh when I read this one. Well, we've won. Arteta has won the same amount of Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues as we have since he's been manager. And I literally went, what? I literally went, what the? And I just, are you absolutely? Are you? Do you realise what you just wrote there? Do you realise what you've just written?
I find it laughable. All these memes going out around about Arsenal and a aftershave or something. We would kill to have been second in the league for 2 or 3 seasons. We would kill to be in a Champions League semi-final. We would worry about our own inadequacies and the shambles that our club's been before we start trying to have a pop at seemingly more successful, well-run professional football clubs than we are, regardless if they're our neighbours or not.
We are a man who has yet to be divorced, but his wife is happy, in fact, insisted that he sleeps in the car. And the guy sleeping in the car looks across at the road and sees a guy who is destitute sleeping in a shop doorway. And he says, well, it could be worse. We are absolutely out of our bloody minds. We really are. None of it is good enough. And the punchline, the money shot is that we're paying through the eyeballs for it. And it goes back to that thing, what could I do with the money if I wasn't wasting it supporting Spurs? But because we have that emotional, because we have that emotional tie to the bloody thing.
You're missing the point, mate. We're financially sustainable. We're not going to do a Leeds.
But people are mugging us off on a regular basis, and we just accept it, don't we? Somebody sent me a funny message on Saturday night. Conor Benn was interviewed, and he said, I'm devastated about losing this fight. I need to go to an empty room to gather my thoughts for a while. Daniel Levy has just given him the keys to the Spurs trophy room and said, crack on. And you think we just bring much misery and ourselves. We've got Fabio Paratici in the lead up to the Liverpool game saying, it's Tottenham, of course you go win. You can't lose that game. People are now making us the laughing stock that our owners deserve.
Well, I said to you weeks ago, Paddy Power have been using Spurs as a urinal.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything more brutal than that I'd actually get away with saying publicly or privately or whatever, and I wouldn't get arrested.
The level now, as you say, the thing is now we've got to the stage where, as fans, we are so desperate for any crumb of comfort, we'll hold on to any sort of random thought. You know, we might win the ropey, we might win a game. It's got to the stage now. Like yesterday, it was a lovely day. Yesterday, I think I texted you on the chat. It was a lovely day. I'm sitting in the garden thinking, why the hell do I want to go inside and watch this game? Because I don't.
Was that the nude that came through? I deleted.
Oh yes,
I presume that was an accident.
No, you missed that. You missed a quality video there, mate. You missed a quality video.
I've never realised Tony embraced naturism.
Well,
bobbing along.
Or is it naturism embracing Tony? Come on, let's get it right.
Maybe nature didn't have a chance. That's how it certainly looks in the image that I saw.
I never realised you were Jewish, Tony.
Mate, ever since I've taken those tablets H recommended, it's been a roller coaster.
It's been a battle against reality since the postman knocked.
Oh dear! When you're walking around with a priapism, it's not fun, you know. But this is the desperate state we're in now. That you can imagine. You remember those halcyon days when we were actually competitive, and every game you look forward to either going to or you look forward to watching with a bit of the butterflies in your stomach and your sense of anticipation about how we're going to play and all the cracking stuff we could possibly do, all that sort of stuff. It's gone. It's completely disappeared now. There is literal. I don't know if there's anything worse than apathy. I suppose the only thing worse than apathy is just not giving a shit at all. I mean, apathy is not really caring. But there was something, an insult somebody said. He said, but you do care about me. No, I don't care about you. I nothing you.
Mm.
Yeah. You've just reminded me when I was working in Ireland. There's a drink culture in retail, and there's certainly a drink culture in Irish retail. And there was a guy who didn't need much encouragement, perhaps just like myself, to go to the pub. Didn't need much encouragement, and he turned around to me halfway, and this was during the Martin Jol era, and we were on a European tour. Those were like, you look back at those days where we weren't really achieving very much, and winning a game 5-4 and all the rest of it. And he said to a friend of his, I didn't know, but he was in the pub with us, and he said, I've seen most of Spurs games this season. He said, they're actually very entertaining. So if I said to him, I'm going to the pub, it wasn't his default thing of, sure, yeah, I'll have a couple with you. It was actually, Spurs on. Because it was actually, he'd remember that would be an occasion probably where I'd be punching my fist in the air or threatening to put up my shoe through the TV set or whatever. But there would be lots of animation and generally a good atmosphere. Whereas these games, we've got people on the Substack, on the other blog, bloody everywhere saying, I'm not renewing my season ticket. We're on at the weekend, but I've offered to help the wife clear the shed out. They're making themselves scarce. The joy has left the room.
Every game this season, it's been like a library. And if you took away the South Korean happy slappers with their iPhones and their cameras, there would be umpteen empty seats. There is a massive divide between the fans and the club. The club couldn't care less about us. We've got a load of prima donnas who are not good enough. Many of our many of our fans haven't seen decent footballers in such a long time. The last good team we had was probably under Harry Redknapp or Pochettino. And we embrace mediocrity, and we get all happy and ridiculous over the slightest win-win. Actually, let's get back to measuring success on field.
No, it's degenerating, and as you say, if you were to remove and let me I mean, I'm tempting fate here. I'm maybe just being so negative and horrible, but if you were to remove the Koreans and the tourists, because it isn't a great atmosphere going to the game. It's not like going to I don't know, like a big race meet or a Formula One meet or something like that, where you know it's going to be quite an intense occasion. But if you were to take away those people, and particularly the Koreans are going to dry up soon, I'm telling you, because Sonny is a poster boy. He's a generational, once-in-a-lifetime kind of character. And he's gone down that hill faster than anything. He's been kept wrapped up in cotton wool to roll out for our important game against the Europa, and everybody's forgot his form went out the window months ago. So that's going to drop off. And you've got the media is losing their patience with him and with Levy. You know, there's no genuine kind of rapport. You're not getting those moments from Spurs. You know, the business when Maddison was throwing the dart and those sort of things, which are the genuine, unconfected moments. They were just spontaneous things that kind of happened. And Spurs aren't providing any of that. You know, and all the feeds for the news thing on like my old blog, for example, £60 million player probably could sign maybe next week for Spurs from big European giant or whatever, you know, clicky newsbaity headlines, and people are just going, "This is a load of shit. I don't buy it for a moment."
What self-respecting world or European quality footballer comes to Tottenham when you can see in front of you what a shit season they've had? They've got no footballing structure, and it all boils down to not one of the players this season's been coached. Nobody's improved. No. People have gone backwards. It's going to be the hardest young player of the year and player of the year competition this season, because not one of them's deserving of it. And then
and over to the morgue where we're looking for the freshest corpse.
Deep dive into the whole transfer thing. So we decided we'd spend £165,000 a week on Timo Werner, who the manager was praising. Then we realised how crap he was, and then he threw him under the bus, and we've never seen him since. But we've been paying him 640 grand a month for the last 2 years, and then we've got the Kinski, young lad that we brought in. Yet we're prepared to entertain the mediocrity and absolute rubbish that Vicario serves up. And then somebody thought it was appropriate to name him captain at the weekend. Well, that's not on his footballing abilities, is it? And when he's conceding goals, he does this thing of fronting up to his back four and accusing. And you're like, mate, pause, look in the mirror. And you've got to own this. You can't go pointing fingers at everybody else. You're just.
I'm glad you raised that.
He is, for want of a better, more sophisticated phrase, a fucking child.
Yeah.
The idea that he would be manager of anything, a bag of coat hangers would be too complicated for him.
And then I read this morning that Kinski was due to sign this summer, but Daniel Levy, doing what Daniel always does, no, you come in early, we want you there, you'll be fine, you'll get first team. We've not given that man first team football. He's a young lad. He had a few shaky games, but we're prepared to let somebody even worse in front, in goal ahead of him. How's that go? He'll be gone.
Even worse than that, Chris. We're actually allowing somebody who's even worse than him as a manager.
Yeah, exactly.
To stay.
Excuse me. I think the phrase you're looking for is shit show supervisor.
or PE teacher.
Honestly, but you made a really good point with Vicario, because I was going to raise this, and I'm glad you said it. I by the third goal, I was sick of him getting off the floor and flapping his arms around and blaming everybody else. I'm sorry. Take you as the goalkeeper, you see everything, literally everything in front of you.
Yeah.
Why are you not shouting at your defenders to get where they should be? Why are you not doing that? And then when the ball goes in, you turn around and blame them.
Based on how crap he is, based on how all of our overpaid prima donnas have deceived and let us all down this season, I would much sooner rather bring back your Josh Keneally or whatever who's been on loan at Leyton Orient and kept umpteen clean sheets. I'd rather bring back Donnelly and say, look, lads, your local boys play next season. I'd rather see them given an opportunity to play for the pride of the badge and having been brought up than some of these overpaid fancy Dan European and world footballers.
If we played all those boys,
absolutely spot on.
If we played all the youth and we were 17th, 16th, 17th like we are now, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it because we could buy into something. But we're 16th stroke 17th, depending on where, how things will move, carry on. With a team of multi-millionaires who are paid to operate a much more professional, higher level than this. And A, they're not doing it because the manager can't get a tune out of him because he's fucking useless. But B,
because he's tone deaf.
Because he's completely tone deaf. That's being insulting to people who are tone deaf, frankly. But it's not only is he fucking useless, but the players have clearly checked out on him. They've decided that even though they get paid a multi-million-pound wage every month, they have decided this guy is not worth the bother anymore. And I would rather take that scenario of the youth being 17th, but with a plan for the future than this bunch of morons right now.
And let's not forget, let's not lose this open goal opportunity to bitch slap, punch in the throat the club again for the bad decisions that they've made in relations to the youth. So we've got players like Manor Solomon, who's having a really nice time at Leeds.
Just one promotion. They love him. Yeah, 9 goals from
the fans love him, and it's nothing to do with his support of being outraged that women and children were brutally murdered, raped, set fire to, and other unspeakable atrocities, which is a fact of life. And don't bore me with history because you're too stupid to even negotiate with me. You're so thick. But it's nothing to do with the fact that he's a Jew. It's to do with the fact that he's a talented footballer. You've got Mikey Moore, who should have been playing because we've seen what he can do. Maybe he won't replicate it. Maybe in training, he waddles around like a clown that's got his laces tied together. I don't know. But my suspicion is that all of these guys should have been given more space, simply on the basis, and forgive me, the black guy, I've forgotten his name again. These guys, we have seen some evidence. This isn't loose chat from Windy Coys wanging on about how nice and tight their shorts are because he's got his own agenda with reality. These guys have demonstrated they can play a bit, and we should be giving them that freedom and that opportunity to express themselves. But we can't do it because we've got a know-it-all, all-you-can-eat hot dog competition winner in charge. It's a disgrace. Absolute fucking disgrace. Wipe the mustard off his face and throw him in a skip.
We've also got a bloke who's so one-dimensional. If it's not 4-3-3, he's not putting a team out, is he? He's got no tactical ability to change to 5 at the back or to go 2 up top or anything.
The high line again was suicidal again yesterday.
I sent you a picture. The gap in our midfield was bigger than the Watford gap. You could have drove a tugboat through there. Actually, that transporter that got stuck in the Suez.
Don't say tugboat in front of Tony. He's likely to send him off again.
The Evermore that got stuck in the Suez Canal. You could have.
I'm just reaching for my tablets, H. No, you're quite right, Chris. It drove me nuts yesterday, the high line we were playing against Liverpool of all teams.
Exactly.
And it's not like you don't have previous experience of them, having been drubbed 6-3 at home and 4-1 in the League Cup, in the Carling Cup. The Carabao Cup. You have experience. You know what these players are going to do. You knew what was on the line. You knew they were going to be up for it. They had the crowd behind them. You had everything in their favour. God, my God. And this is something that drove me even more insane yesterday. Yes, it was Liverpool. Yes, they were going to win, but the ridiculous fawning that Sky Sports did to them yesterday was just pathetic. They fawned over them to such a degree. I'm surprised they didn't spaff all over them at the same time. It was ridiculous.
Well, you would be.
Well, if it was Spurs, yeah, but it'd be worth it, wouldn't it? Let's face it, we'd all be doing that, wouldn't we? But but it was sickening. The obsequiousness of it all. It was absolutely terrible. They fawned over them. They let them all sing it and without interruption. You'll never walk alone. Whoopie bloody do. So and then you had Peter Drury, who couldn't wait to do. He's a terrible commentator. At the best
awful
of times.
Commentator, very wooden.
Completely. And then he would just every time they were on the attack, when they scored a goal, he was off having another one. I'm sure he was. He was taking a tablet again somewhere. Honestly, it was just awful. And that's not to decry for Liverpool's achievement, because congratulations to them. They were fantastic, mostly throughout the season, played some great football. And you cannot, and I don't wish anything against them, because they're a great team managed by, guess what? A great coach who didn't like the look of us.
And all you can eat hot dog competition winner. That's what we're left with. Can you tell me? It's difficult to tell, but it looks to me like you've brought up your last hot dog, mate. That's what it looks like. It looks like hot dog vomit.
But the concerning thing is, we've got 6 games left, and the next season will quickly come around. And now's the time he should be proactive behind the scenes, getting rid of this oath, getting rid of his coaches, starting to think about appointments coming in, because you've got to hit the ground running. As soon as that season finishes, we've got so much dross at that club we need to move out.
That's just the guys in the suits surrounding Daniel.
But this is Levy in a nutshell. But this is exactly. But all you can see of all this is all where Levy is motivated. He sacked Mourinho before the cup final because he didn't want to pay him a bonus in case he won. Whereas he doesn't care he doesn't care what Ange does.
In actual fact, in fairness, let's just
paying him a bonus, is he?
Let's just clarify that, because I wouldn't want Daniel to get away with the fact that it was all about money. It was more about the fact that my understanding, for what it's worth, is that Daniel Levy, who is a coward, didn't like being spoken down to by one of the world's worst dictators. Daniel didn't like being spoken down to because he's one of the world's worst dictators. And Mourinho, who's been there, bought the T-shirt, blah, 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 the way he spoke to Levy wasn't that of a man in awe of another man. It was a man who'd done everything, won everything, had the superior CV to his employer, and was basically inferring that he needed to give more attention to the coach's voice, the proven coach's voice. And this is what Conte said. When Conte went wrong live on TV and then flew back to Italy because he booked us off and had enough, he said the same thing. There's a constant thing here, which is to do with the losing. And I don't know who it is, meaning exactly we do know who it is. It's laughing.
Absolutely. But it's the money as well, isn't it? You look at it.
It is the money. It is the money. Never underestimate the put upon nature of Daniel Levy. His stock in trade is unfinished business. And what was that other one? Oh, I think you'll be quite surprised. It's all about this threat of coming back, and this is classic Napoleon syndrome. It's like the mental hospitals after the Napoleonic Wars were full of people who were claiming to be Napoleon. And it's because it's a thing that happens to human beings. They latch onto something and they say, oh, yeah, that's how I feel, actually, because I've gone cuckoo and I'm going to wander around with my hand in my vest. This is, he's a textbook case, Levy. He really is. And he has destroyed so many relationships. And people are talking about who the next coach is going to be. And they're putting all these names up and they're saying, oh, it's going to be so-and-so and so-and-so. I would go to the same bus stop that he picked Ange Postecoglou up and see who's hanging around there waiting for a bus, hasn't got the bus fare, because that's how it'll be. It won't be anybody decent. Nobody in their right mind. And they're talking about that poor chap, and I say this in the most sort of fraternal way, but this poor chap who's just, doing so well at Crystal Palace. People go, ooh, he's just passed his audition. You're delusional. You're mentally ill. Nobody who's got a career, and it's like the same with Scott Parker. Nobody who's doing well wants to trade down to come to Spurs. It's absolute toffee. And it takes us back to, the reality, the facts, not your feelings, not the little voices in your head, but the people who are publishing all this guano, you're not getting any clicks because they don't buy it. You're selling empty boxes.
If a Pochettino, if a Conte, if a Mourinho were unable to succeed at this club with the buying power they had and the reputations they had and the CVs they had. Who thinks that an Oliver Glasner or a Spotty Parker is going to come in and work with a dictator and have any success with it? Look,
it's laughable. It's laughable.
Over the naming rights, for God's sakes.
Oliver Glasner does not. We don't deserve Oliver Glasner, and he doesn't deserve us.
No, absolutely, because he knows if he's got half I mean, somebody said on a forum I was on the other day, they mentioned some manager, and I said, yeah, there's an absolutely tremendous chance of us being able to hire him and get him in to replace Postecoglou. Tremendous chance if he has never ever used the internet or read a newspaper and doesn't know who we are, and he thinks we're a popcorn company or something. Yeah, there's a vague chance. It's the old Dumb and Dumber line. So you're saying there's a chance? Yeah, there's a chance. If he thinks it's completely unrelated to Tottenham or football or anything else, there's a chance. But if he does have access to the internet or has read a newspaper, isn't it coming nowhere near us? Nowhere near us at all.
Nobody of any credibility, anyway. Anybody with a decent enough track record. Let's put it that way. I mean, I just said that we're already at that stage, aren't we? We've been at that stage for the last 2 seasons.
You go perhaps attract a European manager who's on less money, and it's all about the personal uptake in finances. If you're in a perhaps Spanish, French or Italian club and Tottenham come along and offer you 8 million a season, you go jump at it for your own personal gain. But nobody who's got a proven track record of success is going to come anywhere near this place.
One of my best mates, he's a Man United supporter, and even though they're not doing very well, there's still a very strong school of thought that says that Amorim is the man to turn it round.
He's a good young coach, isn't he? If he gets his own players and he doesn't have to deal with dross like Xerxes and Hoyland and all the others, give him time. Yep. And there's a plan there, but there's no plan whatsoever with Ange. We've seen not a single player improve. We're a one-trick pony. We've got a bloke surrounded by crap, ineffective rubbish from a training perspective, and he doesn't know how to develop or bring on players.
There's already a rumor of a massive clear out this year.
There has to be a clear out because I'm not talking to you two. I'm talking to anybody else who might be accidentally watching this and regretting it an hour in. But anybody else is stupid enough to believe that there's any cash to be spent. We haven't made any money. Because to do that, you got to win things. There's no money being made. The amount of it's all like Chris was talking about reputational damage. It's all the collateral. So this is the paucity, the thin way that Daniel Levy views the world. So he'll see that on his laptop or whatever that the revenue for the game, whatever game it is X because he sold all the tickets. But you've got the reality is that many of those seats are empty because people don't want to go because it's cheaper to stay at home than it is to get the bus and all the rest of it because, your ticket's already paid for. And then there are people who have gone but are miserable, and miserable people, apart from raging alcoholics, don't tend to sort of buy beer and say, hey, let's stay for another, slice of pizza. And that elusive dwell time, that Americanism that he wants to bring there and turn the whole thing into a full day out. And the damage is just chipping away. And nobody is coming away and feeling joyous and happy and comfortable about the brand because the brand sucks. The brand is a skip fire.
Not being funny, but nobody's going to the Tate Gallery to see paintings and spend a day at the Tate Gallery with paintings done by 3-year-olds in crayon.
Correct. Absolutely
correct. Which is exactly what we're getting in football terms.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely right. I mean, it's. I mean, I went to the British Museum, and there's some fascinating stuff in there. But what was the highlight of the day was that they had a proper pizza oven, and you could get a big old pizza, 12-inch thing, with all the bubbles and crispy bits and all the rest of it. And I wasn't expecting that. So that was like the added value. Whereas with Spurs, all there are deductions on the value. Because everywhere you look, when you're not having a great time, you go and see a band that isn't brilliant, and suddenly you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'll buy a pint. And the guy goes, oh, that's £8.40 or whatever. And you're going, how much? For a pint of what? I don't even know what this is. And he wants the wrong end of a tenner for it. And your brain starts working like that because you're a human being. And Levy doesn't see any of this. He doesn't see any of it at all.
You just know that he's got a mobile phone with an app built in so that he knows every single pint sold in that stadium on match day. I bet his eyes.
I mentioned this ages ago. There was a guy, bing, bing, bing. Oh, look, I've sold another 6 bottles of pop or whatever. But I saw there was some clown went in on a corporate thing, probably one of your mates, Chris, but went on a corporate thing, and it showed a video of this room, and the bar was set up, and they got pre-poured pints. There was a tray of like 20 pints or 25 pints. And I thought to myself, as a pint drinker, I don't class myself as a weirdo, I would have looked at that and gone, yeah, is there any chance of a fresh pint? I'm on a 200, 300 quid ticket here. I want a fresh pint. I don't want this piece of piss that's been sat there for God knows how long. It's flat. But this is the stuff that he doesn't look at. He has them pre-poured to make sure that the staff don't manage to screw it up. And instead of giving away the included 32 pints, they don't accidentally give away 33 because he takes the human error out of the thing. That's the way his brain works, and that's terrifying.
Bring back the magnets. That's what I say. Bring back the magnets. Let Chris
take the carrier bags off of his shoes. That's what I say. let him walk without making funny noises and occasionally slipping over.
Even to this day, I still am prone to fingering that pint and then watching it descend.
Hello, baby.
You think you've learned by now, but seemingly not.
And you two call me weird.
You can't keep your index finger out the bottom of that pint, you weirdo. Right. Is there any more for any more? Any more for any more, Kane?
I was going to ask your observations on the first half and second half team huddle, as I'm trying to work it out to this day what's been discussed in there.
Sudoku clues? I can't think of any. It can't be anything related to football. Where they've seen a good previously worn Patek Philippe watch going at the right price. You know,
it's always led by our favourite vampire keeper as well. He's the master of the huddle. So I'd love to know what's been discussed in there.
Terrified of crossing. I mean, anything that lad had to say. I mean, he just. I don't have anything kind in reference to that boy at all, because he just strikes me as being a well of emptiness.
Remember that. Remember that last one we ended up with? What was his name? Pierluigi Gallini or something?
Gallini,
he was mentally ill, wasn't he? Everybody said he was a generational.
Yeah.
Oh, the rapper. There, because he was wandering around giving it the odd ting ting and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Dressed like an absolute fairy.
Yeah, absolute fairy. An embarrassment to real fairies.
Yeah. There is no point now in the league playing a normal squad. You might as well just play the boys, get them some exposure, because we can't do any worse than 70. You can't do any worse than 17. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares now whether we lose 19 or 23 games, because that ship has well and truly fucking sailed. So as far as
sailed out and sunk.
Yeah, sailed out, gone over.
There are fishes. There are fishes going in and out the portholes,
mate. If you're of a certain belief, it's gone over the edge of the earth, mate. Honestly, it really has.
But I told you it was flat. There was a reason the ship has sailed and not come back. But you didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to me.
No, you wouldn't have it, would you? You just wouldn't have it.
You just wouldn't have it.
But no, I mean, let's just play the boys. Just play the boys. You know, get Brandon Austin back in goal. Kinski, obviously, because he's been promised stuff. Get Kinski in goal with Brandon Austin as his backup. Okay, he's going to play all these best players for the Europa League. Fine, let him play them.
But that's his go-to setting, his go-to template, because that keeps Levy on side in his brain, which is damaged, as we know. So he thinks if I keep on putting out these players who don't give a toss, they've even more disconnected than the fans are, I'll be all right. And he also, because he's a mad, crazy narcissist, and in the truest sense, he will be so paranoid that if he did flip the switch and bring in Mikey Moore and say, got back Manor Solomon and whoever it might be, give these lads a proper go, that they would be of a mind to think, I'll show you what I can do. And this will make the expression on your face change, won't it?
Well,
and he would be terrified of that. Terrified.
Any man who gives it that when we'd scored an equaliser that was subsequently disallowed in a league match, is not up to it when he was trying to rile his own fans for, God forbid.
There will be a dual benefit. There will be a dual benefit from eventually, hopefully, getting rid of this clown, is that we won't have his fellow countrymen telling us how great he is anymore.
Oh no, they will now see his final disgrace of him being sacked and shipped back to wherever he is going, Wonga Wonga Bay or whatever. They will see that as proof of the ethnic cleansing of the game. Nobody cares about what you are, whether you're a woman, a dwarf, you're black, Chinese. Nobody cares. Everybody wants the best person possible. And I've said it to you before. You go into a coffee shop and you want a coffee. You want it to be served as a nice coffee, like the company intended, like all the adverts, to be served in a reasonable time frame, and for the guy not to spill it all over himself as he's handing it to you. No diversity, equity, inclusion. We're really, really, really intent. This is our number one core value of hiring the best person.
Did that apply for that bloke at the chicken and chip shop that served us that time?
What's my food, you toothless fuck? That even took me by surprise, and I'm deeply unpleasant in all social circumstances.
I completely redeemed myself on that front, didn't I?
Yeah. I mean, anybody who says, "Oh, I really like Chris, he's a really nice guy," I think you don't know the half of it. You don't know the half of it.
I was channel hopping last night out of boredom, and I stumbled.
Did you find those? Did you find those 50 channels? Did you?
Well, those ones that you told me about, they're all nonsense. I've never known a plumber turn up that early. But channel hopping,
he looked a bit flushed. He must have run.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, he never fixed it either, though, did he?
No, he didn't.
It's fairly typical.
Yeah, I watched that Welcome to Wrexham last night.
Oh, okay.
And that's the sort of relationship you want. 3 successive promotions in 3 seasons. And they're there, the Ryan Reynolds and the other bloke drinking with Rob McElvenney, drinking with all the Wrexham fans in the pubs after the games, getting involved in all the singing and everything. How far is that from Daniel Levy? It'd be lovely if he joined us on this podcast.
I've watched that right from the start. And I've watched and I followed, I kind of follow Wrexham a little bit because of that, in that respect. And I've kept an eye on some of the tweets and like Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds do as well. And those guys are regardless of what anybody else says, right? They funded the club initially to about a loan of about 15.5 million. Which is because of their success. Pocket change them, but because of their success, that loan has been paid back in full, and Wrexham are a financially stable club.
Viable club, yeah.
Do you know how far away Spurs are from that? Do you know how far away Spurs are from that? A business plan away from that.
Yeah, exactly. And that is because they
not
have
even
a
big one, a little business plan.
And they have a plan. They have stuck to that plan. They've got good advisors in. They don't interfere. They haven't interfered with the football. They obviously will, fine tune, or they will say yay or nay to certain spending or what have you. But
they're CEOs. They're CEOs. CEOs are allowed to make decisions. But the idea of a CEO making decisions is that you weigh up on balance whether there have been more good ones than bad. And also, you don't have a CEO who is in a cabal of people on the board who are also on the board of other businesses. So you can't get rid of him. Daniel could come in drunk, pleasuring a hedgehog, and they wouldn't get rid of him because there is no incentive at all there. They are super glued to that guy for life. And you only have to look into the...
You mean Dr. Evil, and he's got his foot on that pedal to open the drawbridge into piranha eating waters.
But the thing is,
or as Tony would tell us, dinosaurs with laser beams strapped to them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, lasers. but also the point is as well, you can still be financially stable and still win things
and have fun.
Dare I use the F word? Yeah, exactly.
Dare I use the F word? Hands up to all of you watching this at home. Hands up, or any of you that have had fun this season. thanks to Spurs. Any
Are you
relation?
not entertained?
During
Are
the
you
game,
not
after the
entertained?
game?
Lots, but it wasn't football related.
Ah, yes. And on that bombshell.
So maybe
All right, I reckon.
Maybe you can tell us the story about when the table collapsed now.
Well, there was a without being there was a weight on the table that it was unused to, and consequently the table didn't appreciate the weight. Very lightweight, but just enough weight to cause a disbalance within the table's infrastructure, and thankfully the computer was caught in time, which was a blessing.
Fuck me, that sounded like Daniel Levy speak. That did. Christ Almighty on a stick. Mate, that's what I call a genuine word salad there, mate.
Yeah, absolute non-committal, information-free toss.
Tony, I'll tell you the real story later. It won't be
Make sure you've had your lunch.
It might be as sanitized as that, will it? I bet.
I couldn't possibly comment.
Right, come on, lads. Come on, Thursday then. 5-0 to Tottenham, I'm saying.
I'll be there. I'll send you a wave.
Send us a wave. Yeah. Let's have a quick look at the betting. It wouldn't be one of our shows if we didn't go on a wild goose chase looking for a Tottenham price.
Make sure you get the odds right, mate, because there are certain people out there who are very upset about you not getting the odds right.
Really?
Yeah, there was a comment, wasn't there, from on one of your YouTube things about you apparently someone was taking a task about quoting the wrong odds.
Oh, well, the terms and conditions apply. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, by the way, 5-0. My prediction for 5-0 was heavily dosed with sarcasm. I'm just saying. Just want to point that out to anybody.
Well, I'm afraid it's too. No, I'm afraid that's too late because we don't operate with anything close to context here, and the internet doesn't lie. And we've got a recording of you waving your arms around, smiling gleefully. So yeah, it's still, you can get up to 10-1 in places for Bodo Glimt to do the business. Spurs are 1-4 generally across the board, 2-9 elsewhere, drifting out. But yeah, so there you go. I mean, we are priced, to put it into the old money, we are priced as Liverpool were priced, and we were priced against Liverpool at Anfield. So we're the overwhelming favourites. But I think a lot of this is based upon, I mean, like I say, I've been in and around, bookies' offices for most of my life. They're not going to give you a short price on Bodo Glimt because of the fact that they need some money from somewhere, and they've made Spurs prohibitively priced. Because, put it like this, when you bet on Liverpool, and I think I use the phrase because it's one of my favouriteest phrases, was that you should sell furniture and back Liverpool because it'll be free money. It might not be much at 1-4 or 1-5, but it'll be free money. So it's like you're just sitting at home and then you open your account. You might have had to put several £100 on, but you get 25 quid. So you've got pizza for everybody for free. So do you feel, that's the question I'd say, do you feel as you did for the Liverpool game when everybody was talking about 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, do you feel that way about Spurs for this game? Would you sell that furniture to the guy who will buy those Queen Anne chairs off you for 500 quid? And would you put that 500 quid on Spurs for Thursday night? I wouldn't personally. That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Have you just seen the reporting coming out from Matt Law? Brilliant. Tottenham face sell to buy threat this summer. Club's net transfer debt of 275 million means a tough window of trading lies ahead for Ange Postecoglou or potential new appointment. Well, if you never predicted that, you don't know football.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I said. Anybody in their right mind, and again, it goes back to the F word. Alongside fun is, and this is with respect to these Wrexham guys who've done such a great job. They've brought fun to the fan base, and they've also fixed the finances. Alliterating too much there, but that's the reality.
They care about the community, but they also care about the community around it. Whereas we also know what Daniel Levy's caring the community sort of.
Yeah, he's carrying the community. Is dum. We've got a compulsory purchase order.
Didn't that involve burning down steelworks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
allegedly.
well, no, the steelworks was set fire to. We don't know who did it because the police didn't. Our best men in the yard couldn't find the answer. But the reality is that the hatred stirred up against season ticket holding family. And again, I'm going to say it because nobody else will, because you're all really scared unless you're championing for diversity and equity and inclusion. They were Cypriots. So shame upon every single bloody person who had it in for that family, of local people, hard-working people, and a steelworks, because not because they wanted to build a children's hospital, because they wanted to extend the operation of selling people bloody vegan hamburgers. Absolute shame upon all of you. And I've said forever, I hope the place falls down. I might eventually get my wish at this rate.
Hopefully not when I'm in there.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Chris, but there is a question of ballast, and you might be an integral part of the solution.
Do you say ballast or balance?
I didn't say anything at all. The internet doesn't lie. I certainly didn't say
you're a liar, sir. You're a liar, sir.
You're a liar and a thief and a cheat.
It must be. Yeah,
when can
you're
you?
a liar. The internet says so. So it must be true.
You're a liar, a thief and a cheat. When can you start?
We need a big lead on Thursday because we're going to their manor on artificial turf.
It's not irrespective of 2 games against Bodo Glint. It's what could happen in the final, and we're sadly not good enough to beat any of those teams that they are awaiting us.
Absolutely, we could thump this lot 6-7 or something on aggregate or whatever it might be.
People get so excited if we win 5-0 on Thursday night. Oh, we've got our Tottenham back, Ange Ball, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
One swallow doesn't make a summer,
but it can make for quite an entertaining afternoon. But no, I mean, what I think the real thing is, I'd like another show of hands. Who thinks that Spurs have been practicing on an artificial pitch? No, of course they haven't.
No, we had our pants pulled down against Telford away. What makes us think the fact of travelling to the Arctic Circle or wherever it is, we don't fare any better.
Tamworth Marine, we learn from our mistakes, don't we?
They should make Ange take them there on a paddle steamer. Where are we going? We're going to the Arctic Circle, mate. My family came here by boat, and I'm leaving here by boat. There you go, you Australian scum. There's something for you to get agitated about. I made a joke about deporting people.
Yeah,
well, your hot bun pinching nitwit ancestors. Well, I've seen him play for Melbourne Raw, and I don't know anything about football. Now it's 3 a.m. wherever you are. Leave a comment, nitwit.
Whatever you do, don't try and schedule a meeting with somebody at 8 a.m. God forbid.
That's just so inconsiderate of you, Chris. That really is completely inconsiderate of you, mate.
I don't buy into any of this because everything I learned, I mean, that's when I first fell in love with Australians, watching Ramsay Street and Kylie and Danny Minogue, and they're charming, fantastic, warm, chuckly, wonderful people that produce great pop music and acting, great acting. Sometimes you can tell the difference between them and the sets on the locations.
I bet you had some thoughts about Danny and Kylie, didn't you?
He's talking to you again, Tony.
Mate, for every good
every time Tony moves, you can just hear a rattle.
Yeah. Not quite digested and got into the bloodstream yet, mate. Don't you worry about that.
Don't worry about that, mate.
Mate, you know those rising tables you just press a button on. I don't need the button. But for every good thing that's come out of Australia, I can just quote you Mel Gibson. So we're all good there.
Yeah, there we are, Cobber. Right, that's it for now, folks. Subscriptions are up. Thank you very much indeed for that. We do like a subscription just simply because it reassures us that we were one of the few people that were telling you the truth. I know the truth isn't a popular thing. Yeah, comments are absolutely insanely good. Haven't had to send anybody on a paddle steamer to the Antarctic for a number of weeks, which is because it is a chore, but it only takes a couple of seconds. Whereas your rant about, anyway, good luck to you. God bless you wherever you are. If you liked it, hit like. If you want to subscribe and get it all the time without having to really think about it, do that. But for now, good luck. And despite everything, keep it Tottenham. Dun, 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 dun.